for having me. And yeah, thanks. What a beautiful day to do all this. This is great. And, you know, I find myself at a very interesting intersection between rights, politics, the Second Amendment, you know, very blue state that we live in, which doesn't always look kindly upon the Second Amendment, as you know. And so I've always been a fighter. Yeah, we're always going to fight. We're always up for a challenge. We're actually involved in multiple lawsuits against the state, and so this one was against our governor. Fortunately, we had good organizations like the Second Amendment Foundation, and we had Firearms Policy Coalition, the National Shooting Sports Foundation that would come in with the big gun lawyers, and this is where our dues to these organizations actually goes, and they got all the people necessary together, and they took it and ran with it, and we won in federal court, so we were able to open back up, which was wonderful. Yes. So it can work. You know, the fight is a worthy endeavor. And, you know, interestingly enough, and I talk about this a lot on the radio show, which is on from 7 to 8 on Saturdays on WXTK or WCRN in Boston. So 7 to 8 p.m. on Saturdays, or you can listen to the podcast on our website. But I talk about how the Second Amendment, and Clarence Thomas mentioned this after last year when the Supreme Court punted on all 10 Second Amendment issues that were before the Supreme Court. They decided not to hear a single one. The last time the Supreme Court has heard a Second Amendment issue was well over a decade ago with Heller and then McDonald. But Clarence Thomas said, unfortunately today we live in a society where the Second Amendment is now a second-class right. It does not have the standing in which it should have, and it's the only enumerated right that actually says shall not be infringed that has been so far infringed it looks nothing like the original intention of it. And for us here in Massachusetts, that is really evident that, you know, and I try to compare it to all of our other enumerated rights. So today we're celebrating, and you know, we're out here exercising our First Amendment right. We got a gathering, we're free speech, and we're up here with a microphone. Just picture for 1 second if prior to this day, like 6 months ago, Adam invited me to speak, and I had to go to a certain class, and I had to pay $100 to go to this 4-hour class, and they would tell me what I can and can't say, and then I would have to get a certificate after that class, and then I would go down to the local police department, and in some cases I would have to sit and meet with the chief law enforcement officer and explain to him why I wanted to speak publicly at an event. And then if I satisfied that check mark or check that box, then they would allow me to submit an application with references that they would cross-reference, and then they would photograph me, they would fingerprint me, and charge me another $100 so that I could then be put into the system to go through extensive background checks that would take 2 to 3 months. And upon that, if I passed and jumped through all the hoops, then I would be given a certificate or a license so that I could speak today here before you guys, as long as I remember my PIN number. So when I get here and Adam goes, okay, what's your PIN number? Oh shoot, I forgot my PIN number. Sorry, you can't speak. That's exactly how the Second Amendment is treated in our state today. And it shouldn't be that way. Not to mention, that doesn't even allow me to buy the gun. When I go buy the gun, I'm subject to another whole round of background checks right then and there. So the point of the matter is, they're just making me jump through all the hoops and the exercise just so that I can walk into the gun store and hold a gun that I might want to buy in order to protect myself. We all know something that is so obvious to everybody, which is Second Amendment it's the government can't interfere with our ability to defend ourselves or to defend ourselves against tyranny. That's really what it was written. The founders didn't stand up and go, all right, glad we got that done. Now we want to make sure you guys can all hunt and fish and shoot those ducks and deer. Had nothing to do with that. Had to do with the British government that was sailing back to England. And they wanted to ensure that that would never happen again. So they gave us the right to keep and bear arms. And fortunately for us right now, we have the Supreme Court who is taking up an amendment. They're going to look at this New York case, which will determine whether or not keep and bear means that you can actually carry outside the house, which is axiomatic to anyone who understands English. But the problem is, not everybody does. So it is a right that is now a second-class right. It's treated differently from any other enumerated rights. But here's the good news. The good news is, I feel it's a Trojan horse, because we can win back a lot of people who just love America, who just love, they're not very political people. But over the past year, I can't tell you how many people come into my gun store and say, I'm here to buy a gun. I'm like, okay, great. Do you have a license to carry? A what? A license to carry. And then I got to explain to them all that's involved for them to exercise. They're like, no, and I'm American. What else do I need? I'm not a criminal, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You got to jump through the hoops that we have before us. So the point is, once they go through all those hoops, and then they go, okay, I want to buy a Glock. Oh, sorry, you can't buy one of those. I apologize. You live in Afghanistan. Welcome to Afghanistan. And so when I explain to them that, and then, okay, I'll have an AR-15 then. No, you can't have one of those. So we got a long list of stuff you can't have. But by the time they're done with the process, and they're like, man, I am a responsible person. I am a law-abiding citizen. Why on God's green earth am I being restricted here? Once that light bulb comes on, guys, you're fishing from a stocked pond, right? So I feel that the Second Amendment, it's a very important enumerated right. Obviously, it's my business, and I had other businesses so that, I had a good living. I didn't need to do this, but I felt it was important. It was time to do it. And honestly, in this time that we have 5 to 6 million new gun owners in America just in the last year. The NRA is a very strong organization. Guess what? They have 5 million members out of the 100 million gun owners. So it's a very small minority, but with the 5 to 6 million new gun owners in America, let's embrace them. Let's show them what responsible gun ownership is like, and the lights will start to come on. And believe me, it's just the start. People realize that self-defense is inherently, it's the right thing. Every one of us, you don't have to ask permission to defend yourself, right? And the same thing is with a tyrannical government. So I feel that's where the battle can be won. It can be the Trojan horse that can certainly get a lot more people to think a little bit more critically, and a lot more people to think a little bit more logically about all the rest of the rights. Because once that one's gone, man, it's like dominoes when they start falling. So that's the one they fear the most. And that's what we're doing every day at Cape Gun Works. If you haven't been down, come on, check us out. But thanks for having me today. It's been great. And hopefully we'll see you soon. Thanks.